Thousands of National Guard troops have been deployed in the Capitol. In fact, there have been some pretty depressing photos coming from the Capitol building showing not just the number of National Guard troops who are there, but they're literally sleeping there. You see images of them sleeping on the floor, and of course they're there to provide additional security following the insurrectionists who rioted in the Capitol last week. That led to 5 people dying. Members of Congress had to flee and go to secure rooms. They had to shelter in place. Many of them feared for their lives. So it makes all the sense in the world that these extra precautions are taking place. Now, Huffington Post reporter Igor Bobik also tweeted this: there are at least 1,000, probably more, National Guard troops all over the Capitol Visitor Center, Emancipation Hall, and surrounding hallways. They're sleeping in reception areas, the cafeteria, the entrance to the building, everywhere. And he did share these images with his followers. So let's just take a quick look at that. I mean, just, it's, I don't know, I'm bummed out, John. Like it's really depressing. Like what we're seeing in the country right now is just beyond depressing, because we're supposed to be better than this. This shouldn't have to happen, but this is where we're at, and you see these images and it just depressed me. It depressed me that we've devolved so much. But anyway, there's more on what security measures are being implemented to keep people safe. But I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah. I had Jordan Yule on my show, and we had sort of a depressed period of the episode where we're talking about the state of the country, and it's not just like the day to day, I can't believe this is happening. It's the deep gut feeling that it's not going anywhere, that there are some durable changes that have been made to the way tens of millions of people deal with and interface with politics. And those people have been successful in dominating right-wing rhetoric online. They've dominated right-wing media. And now they're electing more and more politicians that see politics the exact same way they do. Through a conspiratorial, fact-free sense, sure, that's not necessarily new, the fact-free part, but through it's just about inflicting pain on the other side, that it's all war all the time, and you always have to fight. It's grounded in seemingly nothing that has to actually do with politics. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Madison Cawthorn. What are the major policy planks that make them distinct? What policies are they there to pursue? I honestly can't tell you. Like I honestly don't know, and I don't think their voters know or care either. And so, I hope that maybe taking Trump seriously accomplishes something. But the fact that in 4 years we've moved from joking about how small Trump's inauguration crowd is to having an equally sized crowd of soldiers that are needed there to stop tens of thousands of armed conservatives from gunning down Congress, it sort of feels inevitable. We knew that this was a fascist movement. We spent night after night for years warning people about it. But seeing the images, seeing it play out, despite all the work that activists did and some good politicians did, some good people in the media did, it's depressing.
Yeah, it's beyond depressing. And what adds insult to injury is when some of the discourse taking place is critical of people like us who have been warning about this, but more importantly, who are emphasizing the reality of this situation right now. We get called, we're hysterical and we're overreacting. I mean, at what point is it right to these people to take things seriously? Like at what point? Honest, like Charlottesville, people are being hysterical. Mass shooting in El Paso, that was fueled by Donald Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric. You guys are being hysterical. We're not gonna do anything. Okay, the Tree of Life Synagogue, the white supremacist attack there. Hysterical. People just don't like Donald Trump. No, this is not being hysterical. People are dying. And look, just recently, there's been a lot going on with Armenia, and I'm Armenian, so I've been following that news. And so there's an ongoing war between Armenia and Azerbaijan. I'm not going to go through all the details. It's a complex story. But the point is the prime minister of Armenia decided to sign a ceasefire and engage in these negotiations with Azerbaijan that a large portion of Armenians do not agree with. And Armenia is this small, poor country. Let's keep it real. And since they didn't like that decision, they stormed government buildings. They broke into government buildings. And watching that, I remember at the time thinking that's so devastating and so terrifying, by the way. And my family immigrated to the United States for a different kind of life. And to see that happening in the United States, and more importantly, to see members of the Capitol Police enable it, to see Republican lawmakers, elected officials in government enable it. It's terrifying, it's disgusting. I wanna feel pride in my country, right? And I think that that's where the depression comes from, to like reflect on where we are and just understand like how do you even start to heal? Like, how do you even start to make things right? Because Trumpism doesn't go away. 71% of Republican voters after the riots happened still approve of Donald Trump. That's not going away, guys. And I don't know what the solution is. Joe Biden simply saying like, we're gonna heal and we're gonna work together. That's not enough. Being a friendly, polite president, that's not enough. Anyway, go ahead, John.
Yeah, and it's not. I think I said on the show, it's like the philosophy of looking forward, not looking back, falls apart as soon as someone's actually behind you with a knife. Like it's not like, oh, we just hold them off until Joe Biden's inaugurated, and then they go away, go away their Gadsden flags, and they're back to democracy. Like, and these are people who have been convinced, and some of them are elected officials. They think universal mail-in ballots are diabolical. Storming the Capitol is patriotic. Like, think about how much work it takes to convince millions of people to hold those thoughts simultaneously in their brains.
Well, okay, so let's focus on other security measures, including the fact that House Democrats wanted to make sure that anyone who enters the House floor has gone through a metal detector for obvious reasons. There have been some indications, and it's an ongoing investigation, indicating that Republican members of Congress were involved in organizing what took place. You also had QAnon supporting Congress people, newly elected Congress people, live tweeting the whereabouts of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi as they're trying to get to secure locations to avoid this riotous mob that was coming after them. And so it's reasonable for House Democrats to want additional safety measures in order to go to work, do the jobs that they're supposed to do, and not fear for their lives. And so the metal detectors were installed Tuesday to screen everyone, including lawmakers, before entering the House floor. And there was a lot of crying about it. A lot of crying coming from Republican lawmakers who, by the way, think that it makes sense to have children go through metal detectors every time they go to school because they refuse to do anything about gun violence in this country. But here's one representative, Republican lawmaker, Lesko, who says this: for members of Congress to enter the House floor of the US House, we now have to go through intense security measures on top of the security we already go through. These new provisions include searches and being wanded like criminals. Oh, but do you have any problem with children being wanded like criminals when they're just trying to go to school? Because that's been going on in this country. We now live in Pelosi's communist America, again, providing more evidence for how incredibly stupid, ignorant, and uninformed our own lawmakers are. To compare that to communism is just pathetic. And then one video, this is Representative Stube making a similar argument on the House floor today.
I would be remiss if I didn't address the atrocities occurring right here on the House floor today. A week ago, this building was attacked, and instead of working with Republicans to attempt to prevent that from ever happening again, the Speaker and her Democratic colleagues think an appropriate response is to prevent members from exercising their Second Amendment constitutional rights in the very place that wasn't secure a week ago. This attack didn't come from the inside, it came from the outside. And to respond by restricting members' Second Amendment rights in the very institution that is supposed to uphold those rights is appalling.
The lead organizer for the Stop the Steal rally has implicated 3 Republican members of Congress for organizing what took place in the Capitol. So again, it's an ongoing investigation, and I mean, we can see from their public posts that they were very much like hinting at what was going to go down that day. But nonetheless, yeah, you guys are a threat to the country. You're a threat to people's safety. The fact that he's like, oh, you know, Nancy Pelosi didn't consult with the Republican lawmakers who have been enabling Donald Trump's violent rhetoric for the last 4 years. It's so weird. Why didn't she do that? Because you're not to be trusted. As he stands there and enables Donald Trump, serves as an apologist for Donald Trump, he's somehow shocked that House Democrats do not trust him to help plan a way to keep people safe. Yeah, like stop being so delusional about who you are. Like just take a moment of self-reflection. But that's asking too much from congressional lawmakers, Republicans specifically. Go ahead, John.
That's true. And look, really fast, it's convenient to distract people. Like, oh, he is appalled about the metal detectors. Like not the context of what's been going on the past few months, just that specifically. Yeah, and you correctly pointed out, it remains to be seen to what extent the attack was coming from inside of the building or could in the future. Like anyone watching this, do you want to be alone on an elevator with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Like when she could potentially be holding a weapon? Does anyone want that? And not being willing to go through, you showed a congresswoman, I think it was Debbie Lesko. I saw a mashup. So it was a tweet you showed of her complaining about how could they possibly ask this? And like 3 hours earlier, it was thank you to the Capitol Police who kept us safe. Okay, they're trying to keep them safe. The police want the metal detectors. So it's convenient, okay, to praise them as heroes, but not to actually potentially protect them from being shot. Because remember, a cop was just killed. You seem to have moved on from that. You seem to have forgotten that very fast. I don't think the cops who are still working in the building have forgotten yet. And they're pushing their way through. I forget if it was Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert, I get them mixed up, wouldn't let them look in their bag. I think it was David Hogg pointed out, okay, why don't they have clear backpacks anyway? That's what we've done around the country. Instead of limiting guns, we set up the metal detectors and we make them wear clear bags. If you think it's okay for so many people in areas you'll never visit, why aren't you willing to do that yourself? The whole thing is just such nonsense. They don't actually, it's not about respecting law enforcement. If you're knocking over a cop to get through a metal detector without actually complying with their wishes, you don't get to claim that you back the blue.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.